You're live. Can you see us now? If you can see us, respond in the chat off to the side here on YouTube. Can you guys see us? Can you guys see us? So we're good, right?
We got audio.
We got audio. We haven't. Good, right? We got audio. Can you see us? We haven't. We're good. Can you see us? We're good.
Oh, man.
We're good. Hey everybody, welcome to the North American Dogman Project live stream about what a dogman could possibly be. I'm Dave Jones, I'm the tech. I'm gonna sit here and monitor everyone's responses. We're gonna need your feedback to help us out on this. So let me go ahead and turn it over to these other gentlemen and I'll work with you guys out here. Gentlemen.
How you guys doing? So what we're doing tonight is we want everybody's input on what we may believe Dogman is. Is it, flesh and blood? Is it supernatural? Could it be extraterrestrial? Just what in general is everybody's ideal? Is what it is, and from the different stories that you heard, or someone has told you, or you read about, what do you believe it is? And that's the big thing. We're getting a lot of different reports from a lot of different people. I'm more on the side that it's a flesh and blood, but we're getting some really odd stuff coming from people that this thing is supernatural and possibly even extraterrestrial, because we got quite a few really interesting stories from people who've been in the military, who are in the military, that gave us some really insane stories that this thing is extraterrestrial, in nature. So we thought, what would be better to ask your opinion on what do you think it is? We can talk about their physical features. We can talk about, their behavior, anything, that you want to talk about, what you think, why this thing is either supernatural, flesh and blood, extraterrestrial, or anything out of the ordinary. So, give us your opinion, let us know. And we're going to go ahead and put it on the board here and see what we come up with on what everybody's opinion is.
And you know what? Some people are chiming in that have no idea what Dogman or what the NADP is or anything. So they probably don't even know who you are. Look at that face. He's the legendary.
No, I'm not.
But yeah, just if you guys can tell everybody who you are, that would be.
My name's
awesome.
Jody Cook.
They think you're Skinwalkers, apparently.
Yeah. I'm the founder, one of the founders of the North American Dogman Project. Dave's the other founder. The North American Dogman Project, we literally are the largest dogman research organization in North America. And I can honestly say probably on planet Earth, because we have chapters in Canada, we have chapters in Australia, we have chapters in New Zealand, we have chapters in Europe. So we're getting a lot of members. We're close to 500 members. Right now, which is good. We have chapters, we have regional directors, and we're getting a lot of stuff. I mean, people are coming to us, believe it or not. When they do their Google search or another search on another search engine for Dogman, our stuff's coming up, and they're coming to us, getting a lot of good feedback from military, a lot of feedback from law enforcement and regular civilians. Please check our site out, www.northamericandogmanproject.com, and look at everything on there. Our encounter page, we're working on it. We're getting so much stuff coming in right now. It is so hard to get everything on there and get it posted on there. We're trying our best to do it. Also, there's a lot of big major projects that's been going on with us. And hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be able to pass that on to you. And I think you guys will really enjoy what's happening with the organization. Because like you said, we are growing. We are getting recognized by a lot of people. We're having networks that are coming to us, asking us about the Dogman phenomenon, on projects that those networks are doing. about shows that they're going to be coming up with this summer on what is Dogman. And, we're providing them with, witnesses, and we're providing them with information, for that. So that's good. So like I said, a lot of people are coming to us about, what is Dogman, and, and we can't do this without you guys. And we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're helping us. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm surprised the amount of people that's out here. I mean, I have to say, reach out to those, people in the UK. My God, there's a lot of you out here, and thank God for you, and bring your stuff in, because, we love the stuff coming out of the UK, because over there, you guys look at it as a werewolf, and that's what it is, and you guys are getting a lot of really good stories out there, and please give them to us, because we love the stuff coming out of UK.
There's a lot of information coming over
A
here.
lot of information.
Go ahead, Mister, on the
Sure.
end over there.
My name's William. I'm a local member of the NADP. I'm basically one of the researchers, as well as I go out in the field and with Dave and Jody, and we look at all sorts of crazy cool stuff out there. So I'm just here to help contribute to the conversation.
Awesome. Special response team.
Yeah.
We're the Ohio Special Response Team.
And what we're doing, we're going to get like different regions where their special response team is going to get trained, so you can get qualified to be the special response team. And the reason why we have this is that we want to be able to come up with it, special teams if something major happened, like a Class A Dogman sighting with multiple witnesses. There's evidence there. There's photographic evidence. The media is getting called out. We want to be able to get a team out there on location and find out what's going on. And we want to get people trained for that. And we're redoing our field manual. We're redoing a lot of stuff, to make, how can I say this? To get the information out there for you, so you'll be able to sit there and do this job correctly. This is something we've been wanting to do for a long time. And like I said, everybody's going to have the chance and the opportunity to, try out for the special response teams and things. And like I said, we need to get them in every single region that we have. I mean, we're growing that much, and the amount of sightings are just getting so overwhelmed with us. And we need to get people who are dedicated on getting out there and doing this.
All right. So, people are throwing all kinds of ideas and thoughts and different things going on out here.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys, how you want to.
Let's go ahead and start, taking some of these questions and putting them on the board.
I noticed some people were asking us what we thought they were. So we can throw like some of what we have heard from eyewitnesses. I guess we could start putting some of those in there. One that's really interesting to me is when people say they have a face-to-face encounter, they feel like that the Dogman tries to speak them on a telepathic level. So I would guess that would fall under our supernatural category, and that's kind of what we're looking for. And there's a. Let me go down.
In my personal view, I'm stuck between flesh and blood and extraterrestrial. The amount of reports that we're getting that this thing is extraterrestrial, that they've been seen wearing body armor, kind of like Halo type body armor, and Pacific war zones like Afghanistan. Especially, there's quite a few stories coming out of Afghanistan right now. South America, I even had a retired Air Force colonel once tell me that this is a new species of alien that we've only been in contact with within the last 20 years. And they're a highly, I'm trying to do the right word I can say for that. They're deadly species. They're aggressive species. They come here to hunt. They're able to blend in with, wolves because of their identity that they have. and they come to hunt, and I'm kind of torn with that, because I think if there was something extraterrestrial about this, we would have seen it in other cultures. But on the other hand, with that being said, there is signs in other cultures that they could be extraterrestrial, some type of species that became aggressive throughout the years, and that's something he's very good at, with that part.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't ever seen one, out in the field or anything like that. But just based on my own research, I lean towards some of the ancient alien theories. The Anubis in Egypt, the legends of the Sumerian gods, what some people call the Anunnaki, and their genetic experiments here on Earth. I mean, all that stuff, to me, it feels like it ties it all together. I mean, it can tie in some of the extraterrestrial stuff. It can tie in, what we see today in the field. And it also ties in somewhat to the the biblical beliefs about the giants, the Nephilim, the fallen angels. So I definitely I'm kind of with Jody on that. I lean towards something that didn't evolve here naturally, that was either brought here, came here on its own, or was designed and manipulated from Earth DNA at some point in our ancient past.
Looks like Della Carte. Looks like she's right on the same path as you.
Well,
she says, I believe they was made when we was by the Anunnaki. They was made as a hybrid along with Bigfoot. I'm not sure where he's from. Della,
yeah, and I mean that's my latest thing. That doesn't mean that that's right. It doesn't mean that other ideas aren't welcome. I mean, I think the more ideas we throw up on the wall and see what sticks, the better. But absolutely, I lean towards that definitely.
So I'm going to start from where I asked the question. I scrolled up. I had to backtrack a little bit. Buckeye Nation believes it's natural.
Okay.
And then Mark Garavaglia, Creations of the Nephilim.
When you give your opinion on you think it's natural or you think it's extraterrestrial, could you kind of give us why? Give us an example on why, so we can put it up here.
Yeah.
And see how we have that.
I'll keep looking.
Yeah. I mean, because that helps us.
Arcane Life. We need to have you on a podcast sometime.
Yeah.
Chad Saliga thinks the Skinwalker. That's never changed back.
That would go under supernatural.
But then again, where does the Skinwalker get its power?
Yeah.
But when it comes to Skinwalker, isn't in like a Native American culture, they consider the Skinwalker like their devil?
Yeah, they're witch.
They're witch. They're
usually a very
devil.
negative thing, at least in modern Native American culture.
Correct.
There's some talk that wasn't always that way. That at one point Skinwalkers were just they were helpful to the community, but in modern times they're definitely viewed as taboo, and they avoid talking about them for fear of attracting their attention.
I was reading a while back where now on native land, if one individual has a dispute over another one with another one over land or water or something like that, they bring the Skinwalker in to put a mojo on them or even possibly kill them. So it's like they're modern day hitmen and today, and it's weird. So the whole thing is just evolved in a whole different level.
And I mean, it could also be the Skinwalker is a whole different thing. I don't know. I have lived in the American Southwest. I have a lot of family there. I have yet to meet someone who has lived on or near a reservation out there. That they could be the most doubtful, most atheistic type of person you'll ever meet. But if they've spent any amount of time near the reservations, near these communities, they take the Skinwalker thing very seriously.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No joke.
Paul Kokorotis says descendant of the direwolf.
Okay, that would go with natural biological.
Canis lupus erectus.
I love it.
Well,
And there was also a theory was the Dinopithecus, which was a large baboon that lived in Africa, but yet there's no physical evidence or fossils of it being here. And that was a good theory,
Here's something interesting. Dean Cooling says ecolution being forced on by high levels of various hormones, chemicals, etc., and livestock around the world.
Okay.
Sort of a
So that would
a bad chemistry.
that kind of that falls somewhat outside of our three categories.
But we can do
yeah, we could do kind of
we can do it.
Another one that I thought was man-made,
right, like
military,
government.
Government.
military,
Yeah, a lot of people think that this is the man-made, entity.
Kaipi 1988, natural biological that evolved here just like we did, likely cousins of the direwolves. I don't tend to believe the supernatural stories. Okay, so.
And that's a good theory because, this is, let's say, okay, he's flesh and blood. Okay, here's a species of canine that's capable of walking bipedal, and where the physical characteristics are not so much of a wolf when it's upright, but more of a wolf when it's on all fours, where it makes its front paws more of a human hand, with an opposable thumb, where this thing could have evolved. It could have been another species of canine that was so low in numbers that it barely survived. Because if you look at the history, of dogman sightings, going from like the early 1800s, they were close to nothing. It was every once in a while you find a newspaper article, which we have on our site, a couple of them, from the 1800s, that talk about this, and you have nothing else. And then as time going on, it seemed like from the 1970s, it just boomed with the amount of sightings that's coming up. Because I was doing Bigfoot research in the 80s and in the 90s. And then I remember getting reports of Bigfoot either having a snout, having pointy ears, the legs were kind of like a dog, but yet you had no dogman sightings. The only dogman sighting in Ohio that we had, was the Defiance, Ohio case of 1972. Yeah, and that made international news, but that was it. So I go back looking at all my reports from the 80s, in the 90s, and I'm like, these are dogman reports. These are dogman sightings that these people are seeing.
Right.
So we see the amount of sightings are just, they're getting more and more. And I think it's because, these things are, mating, they're getting a larger population out there. And that's why we're seeing them so much more. And the thing of it is, they're dominating over dogman or over Bigfoot territory. And they're, going head to head with Bigfoots. I mean, the case that we have right now out in Utah, where they knew there were a Bigfoot in this area. The whole community knew about it, and then all of a sudden, this dogman comes in, and people are seeing this thing. It's attacking their horses. It's attacking the livestock, and then they tell us that one night they hear a big fight out in the woods of these two creatures. They said, we know this one's a Bigfoot, but the other one, we don't know what it is. And whatever this thing is, either killed or moved out the Bigfoot in that area. And now it's creating havoc in this town. And now, the police are constantly in the area. People's livestock are getting attacked more. People are seeing this large canine doing like a combat crawl along their fence lines. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
It makes me think. When you think of a dog versus a wolf, the wolf's skull is 20% larger. The brain's 30% larger. The wolf can detect prey at 1 3/4 mile away. It can tell the gender of the prey.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine if you use that size comparison to a dog man if it is indeed, you know, a descendant of the dire wolf or, you know, a further evolution of that species. Just imagine, you know, if you took that comparison and jacked it up, what this thing could do. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is.
Deb said that a medium told her that it's extraterrestrial.
There we go.
Okay.
Extraterrestrial.
So we got one for extraterrestrial.
We got one for
And that was
extraterrestrial.
from a medium. Also, I'll have to ask Amy Allen about that one as well.
Yeah.
Good old Max Neptune, our brother Max. He said it's just like humans, natural animal with supernatural abilities. So it's kind of
I want
on
to
the
ask
fence.
people's opinion. How many of you actually believe in transformation? Okay, that this is a human that transformates into a werewolf. I mean, me personally, I don't buy it because I think that transformation would kill a human being, you know, in the process. Because I mean, actually, we're getting stuff where, you know, people are claiming, you know, that these things were human. LBL, you know, is a good example that we're getting where there are people in the community of LBL believes that the creatures that's stalking LBL is a werewolf clan that's been there since the 1700s, and they go and they, you know, kill who's ever in the woods there to feed on certain nights. And the community will tell you, when you're down there, you don't tell the people you're from out of town. You don't stay at the local hotels, you know, because people come up missing.
It's sketchy. It's sketchy. You don't. When we were down there, when we went camping in November, I mean, the several times we went camping, it just doesn't seem like there's people really wandering around there too much.
There's not.
At least the locals.
Yeah.
There are people like us there.
Yeah.
We're checking it
Well,
out.
you look at the London, Ohio case, you know, that made national news too. That was something that was a transformation type entity on that one. So that falls into the supernatural, you know, on that particular case of London, Ohio.
Yeah, I'm not a big proponent of the transformation thing for the same reason Jody pointed out. I do think, however, it's interesting when you look into the Skinwalker mythology and the werewolf mythology, the similarities, how so much of it, you know, I mean, two completely different cultures separated by oceans and hundreds of years, and yet so much of what is involved in becoming a skinwalker versus what is involved becoming a werewolf it's very similar. I mean, it's crazy how similar it is really when you get to looking at the nuts and bolts of it. So
let's ask our cousins over in the UK, you know, what is their view on that? You know, do they think
that werewolf's a transformation?
Yeah, the werewolf's a transformation, or do you guys believe that, you know, this is actually a flesh and blood, you know, entity? I like to know that, you know, because when you look at different history on, you know, with the stuff that's going on in the UK, a lot of it has to do with transformation.
The fact that there's a lack of canines, coyotes and wolves.
Wolves and stuff, yeah. So let us know your opinion on that. Well, I'd love to know that.
I say we road trip. Let's
Definitely.
go to the UK, hang out with our investigators, and find out what's
That's
going on
right.
there.
That may be
Take as
happening.
long as we
fishing ships,
Yeah.
stop by the old slaughtered
bangers,
lamb.
mash.
Slaughtered lamb, yeah.
So,
Let's see what we got.
okay, so hit us up, you guys. Meat suits for demonic entities to experience the physical world since demons are disembodied. That's from Asher Hall.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Supernatural, we're going the demonic route.
Right.
Yeah.
Could be a demon.
Yeah.
It's
And-
an extra dimensional entity.
And a lot of people say that it was evil. You hear that at every third encounter. If it's a face-to-face encounter, it was evil. It was smirking. It was a kind of grinning, and
Here's another thing.
There's an evil intelligence there. So
There's a picture.
That-
Google
very well
the wedding picture with the dog head, and this wedding that took place, and this bride and groom were taking their pictures for the wedding, and the guy has what looks like a wolf's head coming over his shoulders, which is really bizarre, and that falls into that realm of demon. And it's a really weird picture. It was taken back in the 80s. So it's really weird. I mean, the eyes on this creature with his mouth open, it's definitely a dog or a wolf. You can definitely see that. But it just put chills on you, man, just looking at it.
Definitely makes you think.
Yeah,
for
definitely
sure.
makes you think.
Yeah, I mean, they're ravenous wolves have been referenced in the Bible for evil entities and demonic spirits. So you just don't know. You just don't know. It's all very, very worthwhile to pursue.
Hey, Rebel L. Rebel L says, after keeping track of a group of 5 in Wisconsin, I'm honestly mixed between biological and extraterrestrial due to there's usually some weird noises that always happens when we see them.
There's also been reports out of Wisconsin of lights, either prior
To the sightings?
to the sighting or after the sighting.
Extraterrestrial.
And so,
you have to wonder if there is a dimensional portal. When that dimensional portal is used, does it emit some sort of EMF? I wonder what it smells like.
right.
Or, when they see these lights, I wonder if there's like an odor, if it feels sort of like an electrical.
Right. And there's
storm or something.
also the hollow earth theory.
Oh boy.
That where, I've talked to people about this, where, Bigfoot, the Mothman, Dogman, Loveland Frogman, a lot of these cryptids could be creatures that
Reptilians.
live, reptilians. And I'll tell you a real quick story here, if you miss about the reptilian stuff, where they live underground. And, where they're possibly an inner earth, and these are the creatures from that inner earth that come out. And that's kind of a good theory too. But when it comes to the reptilians, I have some friends that work with Blackwater that was down at Katrina when Katrina was happening, and they were telling me the reason why they took the firearms from the people wasn't because they didn't want to, people to get shot or looters or anything like that, because they've been the military, along with these security forces down there, were seeing reptilians that were coming out of the ground because of the water flooding. And they were afraid that, a civilian would shoot one of these things and it would end up on the news,
I just want to make a point. Arcane Life just said, at this point, who knows? All I know is people told me they transformed. That's our answer from the UK right there.
Yeah. So
and his eyewitnesses are telling him these things transform.
So
it didn't just like run out of the woods
right
as is.
Now the Beast of Hall, was that a transformation case also? Because I believe that particular one was the people walked up on that one while it was eating the German Shepherd.
German Shepherd, yeah.
And then jumped over the 8-foot fence with the German Shepherd in its mouth. So that I'd like to know if that was a transformation also on that one, in that particular case. Because that was very interesting.
Maylee Wilson says, do you think it could be a man-made creature using each category? Like someone was to cross a wolf with something supernatural and extraterrestrial?
Montauk, like a Montauk creature from Montauk Island or something like that,
right.
Where this could have been
Good
government experiment, and that would probably would fall under man-made.
Absolutely.
There's a possibility,
And to that point, one of the things I keep thinking about is, these things are seen all over the place.
Mhm.
They're very apparently hostile, and yet, to our knowledge, there are relatively few human casualties. So it's almost
that we know of.
Of course.
That we know of.
It's almost as though they have some sort of a, to quote Star Trek, like a prime directive. As in they are constrained from causing harm for the most part to humans they encounter, and perhaps the ones that do harm, either the humans somehow violated, some sort of part of their prime directive, or they just went rogue themselves. I don't know, but I mean, I do find that government /
but in
outside creation interesting.
But we have in some cases where these things would stalk like a raptor would, where they would have one out in the opening, so you would see him for sure, while another one was flanking you. And that happened to Dave Lady.
Yeah, one of our investigators, Dave Lady.
In his case. And that's where he shot that thing, what, twice at point blank range
357
with a
Magnum.
357 Magnum. And we get a lot of these stories where people were shooting these things. And I'm wondering, why is it not taking these things down? And I think that, their sternum,
Yeah.
breastplate would have to be something like this wide, very thick, like a pit bull skull. So where it would be able to take the impact, of a large round. So where it is protecting the heart, it's protecting the lungs, and that's why it's got so much of a massive, chest, is because it probably has a bony protective plate, in its chest. And that's the only thing I can honestly think of why this thing can sit there and take the hit that it does.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about an artificially created organism, either by human governments or by something else, I mean, it's quite possible that it could have redundant organs or extremely resilient life systems, self-sealing blood vessels and double hearts. I mean, we just don't know what's making it be able to absorb the firepower that reportedly they can absorb and keep going.
Like we just watched the Skinwalker Ranch documentary with
Right.
George Knapp, and the guy out there, they had one walk right up to him in daylight. The guy even pet it because he said it looked friendly, so he pet it on the head, and he said it was the back of it was probably about 5 feet tall, and
Described like a dire wolf too.
yeah, but it came right up, and he said it just seemed really nice, so he pet it on the head, and he was in a pen with some calves, and right after that, it tried to grab one of the calves and pull it through the fence, and one guy pulled out a 357, and I guess he fired a warning shot first to see if it would scare it off, and it didn't, so he fired at it, and then he fired a couple more times, and then the other guy ran and got a 30-06, and he shot at it 6 times. And on the 6th time, a chunk of flesh flew out the back of it, and it showed some recoil at that point. And so it backed up, and he said, in his own words, it waltzingly walked away. After taking all of that, it waltzingly walked away, and they followed it. They followed it into a creek bed, and they lost sight of it. The track stopped, and that was it. There was no blood trail, no nothing.
I mean, could the skin of these things be like a rhino or an alligator, where it could take the shot?
It's possible.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, it's just Bigfoot. When you look at Bigfoot, you can pretty well determine what Bigfoot is and give a pretty good idea of the make of that particular cryptid. This is different because every single encounter is different. Every single behavior of this creature is different. Every characteristics of this creature is different. Just a few characteristics: the canine looking, the ears, the snout. The legs have definitely been different. We had for instance, we had a hunter up in Akron, Ohio, was turkey hunting. The guy was in his 70s, and when he got out into an opening, he got surrounded by 5 of them. And he, at no time did he ever say werewolves. No time did he ever say dogman. He said dogs. He referred to them as dogs. He referred to them as wolves. He couldn't understand how these dogs or these wolves were able to walk and run on 2 legs. And he said the genitalia were not your typical dog-looking genitalia. They're more human-looking.
Yeah. Heard that more than once.
Yeah, and then he said the one that was showing the aggressive was the smaller, was a female that was the alpha, and she was the one showing aggressive, towards him, making the growling, showing her teeth. The other ones basically stood there, and he said that their hands were very human, but he said they were standing like this with their arms like this, and that's why he was able to see what the hands, the long fingers of them, these things. But he said the female was the one that was showing the aggressive. He would point his rifle, they would back up. Obviously, they knew what the weapon was. and he was able to get out, but they never harmed him, but I think what they were doing was basically let him know, because he was going turkey hunting. They found the turkeys first and they were pushing him out. And those turkeys were the food that they want and not him. Plus he had a firearm, which probably wouldn't have done anything. But, when you talk about the characteristics, they're just different. Some you have that are black, brown, black with white stripes, brown with, black stripes. I mean, there's just so much different characteristics, of these creatures. It's just it is so hard to put data together to determine, what type of group you put these in. I don't know. I just find it mind boggling. It's hard to do. I mean, some people are able to do it, trying to figure out, how to put these things in different groups, and but it's just the characteristics. There's just so many different characteristics of it.
Hey, Deb wanted to chime in on the transformation thing. She says she doesn't think that it's has anything to do with transformation. Just like aliens, they can make you see a sort of a screen memory,
okay,
so that you could make so it could make you think it's transforming.
Mm-hmm.
So something
Sort
on the
of
order
like-
of an illusion or
Yeah.
a hologram.
Yeah.
There's a couple cases in Wisconsin that were like that, where they were making them see something that wasn't there, or making them believe that they were seeing dogmen, and just different locations, and no one else was able to see them. Give an example, the one was on a street corner watching him, and there was other people around, but no one noticed it, and except for him, like they were putting something, in his head. What else?
Jeremy Corbell. Yeah, there we go.
What's that?
Sorry, this thing has jumped around quite a bit. Max Neptune's skin is like 3-inch hide. 3-inch hide. That would be that thing would be
Tough to move.
very.
Yeah.
But, I mean, elephants
and
have notoriously thick skin, but people have killed elephants with relatively small calibers, with headshots and the like. So that's the thing. I mean, we're talking about something that's much smaller than an elephant that takes a lot of damage.
Well, they do, like gator hunting. They use 22 because they're able to shoot in the back of the head. But I mean, you take a 357, shoot a gator at his back, it's not going to penetrate it.
Yeah.
Okay, I did find Arcane Life again. He said, no, Jody, no transformation in Hull.
Good. I was hoping on that one.
It refreshed, and a ton of them just came through.
Okay.
So I'm trying to find a good place to start so I can start getting
Go Frogman.
Okay, here we are. The Dracos are the big boys. Reptilians are the foot soldiers. Hollowed Earth is what I think, because there's so many old mine shafts and caves around here. So they're thinking that they're able to travel distances through the cave systems. Is that right?
Yeah.
And mines that are all connected.
There was an argument. I can't say argument. I think it was a lot of people are getting opinionated on it. Do you believe that Dogman makes tree structures, or do you think that Dogman lives in caves or lives in burrows himself in the ground? Some type of what do they call that? Den, like a den or something. I saw a post a while back on that, and a lot of people were giving opinions, and they were very good opinions. But what is your opinion on that? Do you think he's capable of making tree structures, and why would he make a tree structure? And I think the type of tree structure that they're talking about is something to like a shelter.
Like the ones associated with Bigfoot, right?
Right.
Margaret Edwards, you should join as a researcher. We'll put you in touch with the folks at in the UK.
Yeah.
She's never heard of the Beast of Hull.
Oh, that's an interesting case.
But also another thing, I want to put another thing. See, I think it's more of a natural creature. I just think that I always think of the dog, the wolf, and the dogman comparison, and I'm always thinking of this is like super natural animal. But a lot of people say when they see it, they always, not always, but they do smell the wet dog. It has this very,
Yep.
kind of like Bigfoot when you smell him after he's been in the swamp, like the skunk ape, or maybe some of the that it has a wet dog smell, or it has a smell of decaying flesh, like it just ate something and it's on its fur.
Well, Ricky Sanchez made a good comment a while back that where people say he smells like dead animal.
Right.
Yeah.
And he made a comment how dogs will roll around in the kill, or roll around in the area where the kill was, and it gets the smell on them, which makes sense.
Totally makes
sense. I mean, because even big cats are known to do that. So yeah, that makes sense why it gets that dead smell.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think it was KP said too, the intelligence. It's so intelligent. Maybe it's sentient. It's self-aware of what it is. Good thing it doesn't realize it's an apex, or maybe it does.
Well,
but I mean, if it's sentient and it know what it is, I can think of all these different eyewitness accounts where they said it looked at them and it just smiled or grinned, knowing that it could take their life, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
So there's an intelligence there.
Yeah, this thing's a problem-solving animal.
There you go.
Because we get reports where this thing is capable of opening car doors, opening doors,
chicken coops,
opening windows, chicken coops,
barn doors.
Yeah, a lot of.
It figures out latches.
Yeah,
all kinds of latches.
It's problem-solving.
Yeah, the instance where it tried to go through the dog door,
Yeah.
I mean,
gentlemen, doesn't supernatural have a symbiotic relationship with extraterrestrial to some degree? That's from Vikas Gulati.
well, I mean, the lines definitely can get blurry with all three of these categories.
How come park rangers or sheriffs come out and say what they've seen? Or it sounds like you said, how come they don't come out and tell everybody what they've seen?
Well, the thing of it is, there's
Parks and Rec, baby.
They're
Way too much money for them to lose.
Yeah, they want their pension when they retire.
Well, that too, because if like, give you an example, the Metro Parks up in Akron, they even said they know that there's something there, but the thing of it is, if people know there's a monster running around the woods, you're going to have so many people going in there looking for it. People are going to get hurt. You have lawsuits, and if someone gets killed, I mean, it's a money issue, and safety comes first, and the money comes first, and they're not going to let people know that there's something. It's like LBL. I truly believe if LBL came out and said, yes, there's some type of creature here, but we can't confirm that these killings took place, but they have been sightings here, they can literally make money off of that.
They would t-shirts, hats, figures, bobbleheads. They could run the
come
gamut.
in and make and talk about stories of Dogman in there. And I mean, exactly what Salt Fork State Park did with Bigfoot. They saw a financial gain by doing a conference there, by buying a Bigfoot costume, by just everything Bigfoot in their little store. And that Bigfoot conference puts that park in the black.
People still see it up there.
And people still see it up there. And now they're getting Dogman sightings inside that park. So, I mean, it would be a financial gain for LBL to come forward and say it. Because here's the thing. Once that happens, people will jump on it, and then they lose interest in it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's how you solve the problem.
Oh yeah, I mean, they would go there hoping to see the Dogman or the Bigfoot or whatever, and they probably wouldn't see it. I've been to Yellowstone 6 or 7 times in my life. Each time I hope to see a grizzly bear, and I don't. I see elk, I see bison all over the place, but the grizzly bear I don't see. But I know they're in there. So eventually you get tired of going and looking for the beast and not finding it.
Yeah, exactly. And
But I was going to say, Della chimed in and said the whole werewolf is known as Old Stinker. So evidently, when he comes around, you can probably smell him pretty well. So you've probably done what we were saying.
Yeah, he would probably roll in his kill, to get the scent on there as like a trophy. Obviously he can't take part of the body with him, so the trophy he gets is the scent of his kill. So that makes sense.
In mythology, do you know an Old Norse mythology, Fenrir? Fenrir?
Yeah,
was likely a dog man. Thank you, KP. You're awesome.
I do. Oftentimes, I think about I'm way into Norse mythology, and I do think about the legend of Fenrir, who was the offspring of the god Loki and a giantess, and he actually had 2 offspring. One was the world serpent Jormungandr, and the other was Fenrir. And yeah, I mean that legend and the destructive nature of the wolf and how it's supposed to bring about basically the end of the world, or at least the recycling of the world. It's pretty forbidding, and it definitely makes me wonder what the Norse were experiencing when they came up with that story.
How do we tie that into everything? I mean,
it would fall under supernatural.
So that would fall under supernatural.
Under supernatural. And I mean, look at
it's really fascinating though. And I mean, if they were writing about it back then, and it's shown up on old scriptures, and
see, that's why I sit there and think about when you look at all these old cultures with these dog-headed people, that's where I come in with the extraterrestrial stuff. Anubis.
And they obviously wanted other people to know something about how to put it in script or up on.
And Saint Christopher had a dog head. So was Saint Christopher an extraterrestrial, that was attached to the Catholic Church, and through time they had to take the dog head off and put a human head on it. I mean, that whole particular is odd.
It's definitely a weird myth. I mean, supposedly he was mute until his conversion, and then after that, he still had the dog head.
Well, now what I was told, they still have in the Vatican Museum, they still have a painting of Saint Christopher with the dog head in the Vatican Museum.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder what was going on. How intelligent are these things if in fact they come from off world? Just so many things that just you could go all over the place.
Yeah, and see that's why I was saying this whole. I mean, that's where I'm like 50-50 when it comes to the extraterrestrial and the flesh and blood. Maybe just maybe that they were extraterrestrials in the past that mated with either human or wolves, and that's where we possibly can get the dog man today, and that's why the numbers were just so low, and now the numbers are getting large, because of the genetics of it, growing over century, over generation.
That's part of the reason why I think, I mean, my personal pet theory is the Anunnaki, Sumerian, ancient alien stuff, because it seems to tie that in so well. The legend is that the Anunnaki came and bred with whatever primitive hominids existed to create us so that we could serve them, but that they also experimented with other species. And this is where the Minotaur comes from, perhaps the Dogman, the lizard men, so many other, animals of ancient myth. And I mean, I think at least for me, that's one of the areas that I lean towards, because it combines so many different factors: science, mythology, our own origins. I don't know. I don't want to offend anyone out there. I still consider myself to be Christian, but I understand how certainly those views could be taken the wrong way. Absolutely. So
yeah.
Arcane Life also says the Jovadin wolf got shot dozens of times.
The wolf of Shevadon.
Is it Shevadon?
I think it's Shevadon. That's pronounced.
Yeah, the beast of Jevadon.
Yeah. You know, that I'm gonna tell you something about that. My theory on that. I don't think that was a wolf. I think that was a hyena. And the reason why, if you look at the description of the creature, okay, itself, and the massive jaw that was on this animal that was able to do what it is. And the reason why I say hyena, and I know hyenas are not from France, but royalty was able to have exotic animals.
Yeah, they had their own private zoos.
They had their own private zoos, and this thing could have got out. They could have let it out to hunt, you know, on the peasant population. And I believe that's what that creature is. I don't think that creature was a werewolf. I don't think that creature was a wolf. I think it was a hyena that was let out to go prey on the peasants.
Well, and Europe, up until, you know, I believe it was the 16 or 1700s, I mean, there were tens of thousands of human wolf casualties every year. You know, there's a reason why we fear wolves. In North America, they're far less common, and some people will tell you they just plain don't happen here, but they definitely happened in antiquity in Eurasia. And so, yeah, the beast of Gévaudan, I mean, could have been a hyena, could have been a rogue wolf, could have been many things, but certainly while it killed a lot of people, those types of attacks there were not necessarily abnormal.
No.
Sam Sneed says ancient Aztecs traveled through North America. They cursed some lands along the way. Could be a connection.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's talk that, you know, they definitely started off further north than Central America, and that some of these areas in Wisconsin are actually connected to their path of migration. Then it just gets into so many supernatural and spiritual things there, you know, with the mound builders and all of that stuff. I mean, you could go about 1,000 different directions with this topic, and that's kind of what we're here to try to do.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just, I don't know. I find it fascinating. It's mind-boggling. It's a puzzle. It's a cryptid puzzle.
And we just don't know. We don't have one in the garage that we can, you know, take apart and look at. Not that I wouldn't do me any good. I would know what I'm looking at least, as far as if I could recognize it. That would be one thing, but if yeah,
I'd love to have
if there was
one
a
on the
dog
table
man sitting on the floor right in here, I wouldn't know what to do with it. You don't know what diseases it carries or what's going on. We know nothing. There's no science.
Right. You sit there and wondering what the newborn, you know, not mentality, what I'm trying to think of the right word, survival rate is of these creatures. You know, do they get distemper? Do they get rabies? You know,
and I only know of one case of where anybody that's even seen one, and that was the one out west on the ranch. Remember,
like a small one?
The guy came across that with several cubs.
Yeah, several cubs.
And he noticed they had really long claws, and he said, he's like, "What the hell are these? They look like wolves. They don't look like wolves. They were just different. They were unique." And unfortunately, they ended up following them back home as well, back to the ranch.
Yeah, and you know, can they pick up our diseases? You know,
yeah.
You know,
right.
it's like the gorillas. You know, when you go to visit the gorillas, I mean, they take, you know, your temperature. You know, they take everything to make sure that you're not sick when you go out there to see the gorillas, so they don't catch it because they can catch human diseases. Can these things catch human diseases?
Or dog diseases.
Or dog diseases and you know, out of litter, you know, I mean, how big's their litter? You know, and how many out of the litter actually survive? You know,
Kaylee Noel, tracks might have stopped because it might have been able to jump into trees.
That's a good theory.
The reason they were in a creek bed, like a dry creek bed in the Uintah Basin, so there weren't any trees for it to jump into. It's simply those tracks just stopped, and that's where, you know, that's where again another flag rises. You go, oh my God, we shot it 100 times. And it just disappeared. Did it go into a portal? Did a UFO pick it up? Did it just vanish? Is it cloaking, like Patrick said? What the hell?
Yeah, and yet
it seemed, and it just waltzed away.
Yeah,
it was like it wasn't yelping or anything.
I mean,
it managed to waltz away.
Yeah, I mean, being shot
must have looked like Swiss cheese.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you've seen an animal that's been shot, you know, and most of the time they don't just drop right there, but they don't move in a calm manner after they've been shot. They take off. I mean, they're.
And this thing didn't. That's what made it so supernatural. You know, the description of this thing, the way it, I mean, it was so friendly. It was even actually friendly after it was shot because it didn't make any aggression towards the people that were putting harm to it.
Della said something. What about ley lines? There have been stories of them near ley lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We definitely consider the ley line aspect of it in our research. I mean, there's a lot of supernatural phenomena that's connected to ley lines.
Oh,
And if you want to know more about it, there's a man. I can't remember where I got the map. I got it from Rosemary.
the Gallon.
Yeah, Rosemary Guiley, Ellen Guiley. She was saying that in areas where the Earth's magnetic field is higher, she gets more reports of supernatural things. So what she's thinking is the veil between dimensions is thin there. So it's easier for things to move through the veil. And sometimes it just happens and people happen to be there and they see stuff that they're just like, oh my God, what is that? And then it disappears. So yeah, I've got a map of Ohio's geomagnetic fields, and those don't change. Those are what compasses are based on. If they do, it's
very slow.
It's very,
Yeah.
So try to locate a map, or I'll see if I can put something out that has, maybe we can find out what all the geomagnetic fields are for the planet. That would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we know, for instance, here in southwestern Ohio, we have the Serpent Mound, which is quite a fantastic location, and that is built on was constructed on a ley line. You know, so the connection between the Dogman sightings and mounds, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if many of the mound structures in the Midwest are connected with ley lines and also connected with Dogman. I mean, it may have things to do with the Native American history, and may also have things more to do with that phenomenon.
Right. Okay, what else we have here?
Man, it just refreshed again. People are just bam, 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 bam. So what about the different types that people are seeing? I've heard people mention that they've seen some with really huge heads. I don't know, you know, they're saying that they're a soldier dog man. You guys heard of that? And I know there's ones that we've seen or we've heard about that have a hyena.
The hyena, yeah. The one
that ones that are
that
that look simply like a timber wolf that stand up,
right,
but it's a large one. So there's so many just different physical features, and
that's what I'm saying. There's just so much, and it's so hard to put them in a certain category.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that one artist put there's 7 different pictures out of Dogman.
Right.
You know, and even that's growing because, like I said, the characteristics of everyone's sighting is different. The only thing basically is the same as, you know, the snout, the eyes,
The ears,
and the ears.
even
Yeah.
the leg structure differs.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, in some cases, what's odd is that the tail.
Yeah.
You have some that has tails, and you have some that don't have tails. You know, and you have to sit there and wonder, did it not have a tail because it got it bit off in a fight, pulled off, or something like that? You know, or, you know, some type of genetic reason why, you know, through birth, or is that a whole new species of type of dog man that doesn't have tails?
I mean, and if we go, if there's some sort of a hybrid of different species, you know, it could be that that through, you know, breeding, certain offspring will favor one, you know, part of the hybrid
Right.
versus the other. Certain offspring might be more wolf-like, others might be more primate-like. You know,
And then,
who knows?
interbreeding probably has a lot to do with
Absolutely.
that too.
Deb says, then there is the Egyptian god Anubis,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
hence extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
And we know which way you lean, Deb.
Yeah. And of course, you know, he's the god of death or connected to death. And there's the association with Dogman and graveyards and burial mounds. And, you know, so.
Well, that's where the hellhounds come in.
Yeah.
Because the hellhounds protected the graves from the demons. And they were protected, actually, I mean, they were an evil dog, but they were there to protect the graves so the demons wouldn't come out and take the souls from the people in the graves. You know, so that kind of falls in there maybe too. that the supernatural part of it. I mean, we're getting. I mean, the supernatural seems like it's getting pretty filled in.
That's
definitely-
interesting. You know,
definitely
that's the
does.
one I thought people would not really go after.
I figured it would be more flesh and blood.
I thought it would be
You
more
know,
flesh and blood.
Me too as well.
It's really good though. It's really cool to see. A lot of people have really like educated themselves on that as well. It's really nice to see a lot of really good, intelligent responses,
Mm-hmm.
and no one-liners.
Yeah.
Everybody's got.
Everybody's got like
it's
a little
great.
paragraph
I want
there.
to print all this out so people can read it.
Yeah.
What's the oh, that was part of a conversation.
Okay.
Ancient Greeks. What do we got?
A dogman
Talking with the rabies sounds like a horror movie.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jan.
Yeah.
Like a killer whale with rabies. That's
Yep.
my nightmare in the ocean.
So, NADP, Indiana.
Guys need to settle down there.
Hyenas don't walk on their hind legs or run at unnatural speeds. That's arcane life. The chat is delayed regarding Jevedent hyenas.
There's a good book out called Beast, and I can't remember the name of the artist, the author rather, and he has a really good definition of what the Beast of Chevron Dawn is, and it kind of falls in with the hyena stuff too, but it also kind of falls in with the wolf. But all the research I've done on the Beast of Chevron Dawn, I can't find one case where this thing walked on two legs.
Yeah, I don't recall ever hearing about it.
Ever recall walking on two legs. It's always been on all fours.
I did remember reading someplace that some of the witnesses said it had an odd red or auburn color to its fur, which, not too many dogmen are described as having that necessarily, and frankly, not too many hyenas either. So that was an
black or
interesting
gray, right?
point.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's a black or gray.
Majority of dogman sightings, the one thing we can say are black or brown. I mean, the majority ones that we're getting. And we are getting some, like I said, that are black with white stripes. We've gotten a few of those.
White muzzles.
Yeah, white muzzles.
Like
Classic
Mulder.
white chest.
Yeah. Some that were almost like a grayish color, being an older type of creature itself.
You hear about a few brown ones, but definitely the darker colors. The
Darker
blacks,
colors,
the
yeah,
dark
the
grays
brown.
predominant.
Nothing. I think we might have one that was the Indiana one. Wasn't that one like a reddish brown color? The one the police pulled up on. Very interesting case.
Yeah, it was.
This whole
That's right.
department has seen these dogmen,
Yep.
except for these two particular police officers, and they gave the whole department heck about their werewolf sightings. And it was one particular night they were going down, I believe it was 74, and there was a like a turnoff little area there where you can like park, and they pulled in there because they saw what they believed was a bear, and they pulled right up on it and they hit right on the back of it. They had the lights going, they had the sirens going, and this thing did not even move. They were trying to get this thing's attention, and finally it got up, and it kind of got up on two legs, went back down the floor, and walked around the car. And they said this thing was so big, the back of it was higher than the lights on the car. And they said they were so much in awe, they didn't even turn on the dash cam, because they were so scared of what they were seeing and so amazed with what they were seeing. And now they're true believers, of this creature now because they finally seen it.
But that thing had zero fear.
Yeah. Well,
It was not worried at all.
and then we had the case in Louisiana where the Louisiana police officer was going down the road, and he actually got it on his dash cam where this thing attacked him in his car. And he went back to his department, shook up, and reported it, made a statement, got the dash cam, and he came into work the following day, and his car was completely repaired. His shift sergeant acted like he didn't know what he was talking about. He said the dash cam was empty, and they said and threatened him if he continued telling the story, they were going to have him take a psychological evaluation that can determine if he can stay a police officer. So that's nuts. And this guy swore it. He said, I had this thing on dash cam where it jumped on my car and was trying to beat through the glass.
Yeah, and I imagine with the dash cam stuff, if he were to have had the thought to have taken his own copy of it, if that were possible, that would put him in a lot of hot water. I mean, legally, that footage belongs to the department until they release it.
Exactly. And he was saying, I'm a dedicated police officer, and I did what I'm trained to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was reported back. Right. And he said, I did not feel that the department was going to do this to me.
Right.
So this is the Luca rule, obviously.
Yep.
And Luca rule falls into the supernatural realm because
there we go again.
That particular creature, you can only stop the curse by killing the Lucaru that bit you.
Yeah, but it's basically your classic werewolf, European werewolf.
Your classic, and that is a very, in Louisiana, that is a strong legend that goes down there, and people believe it. Because I can tell you this, down in Louisiana, that there are werewolf clans and they are vampire clans that are at odds with each other over territory, everything, and people are dying in fights between these two clans down there. So there again, like I said, the Lugaroo falls into supernatural and folklore.
Crunchy Sopa. Wonder what the Dogman is fully capable of athletically. Well, we know that what they run, I've heard 60 miles an hour, can jump a 6-foot fence just like a hurdle, traverse through the trees. What have you guys
I think
heard
it's very.
other than-
I think this animal is very athletic. I think it's capable
whether
of
it's
doing
on 4 or 2 legs.
It has to have. I have a German Shepherd. He's 3 years old, and he's over 130 pounds. And he's a big dog, and he's able to pull me off the couch. When we're having a tug of war on something. Domestic dogs are strong.
So a Dogman's strength, rather than being supernatural, could just be physical.
It could be physically, that's
So it could
physical
just be,
strength.
physically strong, and we would think that, man, that's supernatural. I saw it move a car.
They're described as being
over.
so well muscled, and so people estimate their weights at being 300 to 600 pounds is kind of the common range. That just being a pure animal muscle, that would just be incredible.
And here's a question I want to ask some of you people too. I've got a theory, okay, that when you have a Dogman that's 300 pounds plus, I think that his footprint is going to be it's going to be still canine looking, but it's going to be a little bit different. I think the toes are going to be spread out wider, and the 2 front toes are actually going to come down, and it's going to be almost like a bear print because it has to support the weight. Mm-hmm. So that means the foot's going to be wider, not narrower. And then when you look at Bigfoot, his foot is flat because it has to support the weight, and the ankle is actually pushed a little bit forward in order to support the weight. So, and then we're getting some prints that where the pad actually has a little bit further out.
Mm-hmm. Almost like they say their hands are elongated paws.
Right.
Their feet could definitely be elongated paws as well.
Right. Where it's something like this.
Yeah.
So where it's along like this. When I would say that instead of the toes, you have 2 toes here. Instead of these 2 toes here being further up like a canine, I think they would be further down like this because they would have to support the weight of the animal.
Right.
And instead of just having your typical, I know I'm not an artist.
Can you
but-
move your head just to the left or right? All I can see is the bald spot.
I do not have a bald spot. Instead of, like this, like I said, I'm a bad drawer, but, where the toes are forward, I would say it's more where the toes are further down because, like I said, the paw has to be out. It's going to be spread out a little bit further, I think, in order to support the weight of the creature itself.
Someone did mention something interesting that the use of CERN. I wonder if they have more sightings anywhere in that region.
And where?
Oh, CERN. I heard a
That'd
lot
be
of
like Geneva,
UFO.
Switzerland.
Yeah, that would be interesting to find out.
Well,
That's-
Denmark, I know in the
that's
Denmark
insane.
area, we're getting some.
Yeah, that CERN stuff kind of crosses. That's one of those areas where it crosses in between like supernatural and man-made, because obviously CERN is a man-made construct. But if it's opening or weakening, the barriers between different dimensions, well, that kind of verges into the supernatural territory.
Right.
The Dogman is an amplification of what we acknowledge as terrestrial predators. It is equipped with an overkill of predator characteristics. Can't believe it's a natural predator.
There, like I said, there's something to this creature, that, I mean, it's a killing machine. I mean, it's an apex predator. It's a killing machine. I mean, if this is if we say Dogman is an extraterrestrial species, well, why wouldn't it want to come to Earth if it's an aggressive species? Because humans are aggressive species. We can't coexist with other animals. We sure to God cannot coexist with each other. So why wouldn't a aggressive species want to come looking for a fight, or to send individuals down to test our weaknesses, test our strength, test us in the field, more or less. I mean, I don't know. It's mind-boggling.
A couple of notes. Crunchy soap again. The big cat sightings in the UK is getting more and more common. Where those big cat sightings coming from?
The big cat sightings in the UK.
They've got some good pictures of those too.
What is good looking honky? I have no. I think you jumped into the wrong live stream, bro.
Yeah.
Peter North. What?
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I think that's somebody else's. You need to. Look.
Maybe Peter North was known as Dogman. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's just a hairy. Oh, that would be Ron Jeremy, right? Dogman. Okay.
Oh, the hedgehog. Yeah.
Yeah, the hedgehog. That's right. He's the hedgehog. He's not the Dogman.
The crunchy sopa.
White-coated dog.
White-coated Dogman. That falls back into the gray coats that we've been getting reports on. And I think that when people see gray or they see white, they're seeing gray or they see white. And especially if they see white, it could be gray, or if they see gray, it could be white. It's in the interpretation of the person that has actually seen it. So yes, we've been having, some that are similar to that.
Yep.
Let's see what else we have here.
If you guys, again, if you could post what attributes you think that support these theories, would be great. Just something you may have heard. Smell, sound,
Behavior.
behavior. There you go.
Okay.
Patrick DeHart, one of our Ohio reps, said that he said they've been seen throwing deer over their shoulders and walking into the woods.
Mm-hmm. I mean, moving in
Similar to a
Bigfoot,
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot sighting. When it comes to the extraterrestrials,
Yeah, it could be a Bigfoot sighting as well.
a couple real quick reports that we got. One, there was a guy that I spoke to. He was former special operations. Said he was part of a unit that had to deal with some captured canine type entities that were extraterrestrial. That was a very aggressive type of species. They were so aggressive, they had to keep them out of the country. They kept them in a facility in South America. They were able to overtake the facility there. They did wear body armor, a type of a body armor that they had to go down and kill these creatures off because they were going into a town and they were killing the people in the town. Another story was there's a guy in Afghanistan that they were on patrol looking for some insurgents. The teams broke off into twos. They were in the Kandahar Valley, and they seen, as they were going up the hill, they heard some screams. They were able to see that there was 2 insurgents that were already killed and one that was being killed by 2 canine type creatures that were wearing body armor. And they had a sword that was kind of like a pharaoh's sword, which is like a sickle almost. And it killed the insurgent one. And there was another story where there was one that was in a small town in Afghanistan, and some U.S. soldiers actually seen this thing and actually were supposed to have it on video of this thing killing some civilians. And what I find interesting about the Dogman being an extraterrestrial part, and this is here, when George Lucas did Star Wars, he had some very close friends that worked for NASA, so where he was able to look at particular pictures that no one else was able to see. And there's been a picture floating around on the moon where there was a ship that looked like a Millennium Falcon sitting in a crater. Richard Hoagland did a book called Dark Mission, where he talks about a crash on the moon and the robot that was out there, which have a really good color picture of it, looks like CP3O. Literally looks like CP3O. And then in the bar scene, he has a werewolf dogman type creature. Yep. So if you look at the old drawings for Star Wars, when they were doing drawings for each of these characters, even though you only saw the character, for half a second, they did background on these particular creatures.
Not to mention Chewbacca looking like a
Bigfoot.
Sasquatch, yeah.
Right, and he said that's where they got Chewbacca from, was from the Patterson film. So when you look at the background of that particular werewolf and Star Wars, he's a creature that wears body armor. I mean, which I find very interesting. And actually, I have copies of the photographs, of that particular creature that Star Wars put out. And I'll post them on the North American Dogman Project's Facebook page either tonight or tomorrow, these pictures from Lucasfilms, and which I find interesting. So did he know something that no one else knew? And that's why he has all this stuff from Star Wars that, now we're seeing it has some way connected to NASA. It's interesting. Did we know something about a dogman type creature, alien, back then in the 70s, 1976, or prior to 1976? It's interesting.
That is very interesting.
So what else we got? Give us something good, people.
Hector Lario says the sword is called a Kapesh.
Yes,
Kapesh.
That's correct.
Thank you. Kapesh. I always knew it as like a pharaoh's sword or something similar to that, but Kapesh. Thank you for that.
Which then goes back and ties into Anubis.
Yeah, there's actual drawings of Anubis wearing like a body armor with that particular. And I have pictures of that. I'll post on the North American Dogman Project's Facebook page either tonight or tomorrow.
Thanks, Dark Revelations, for all of your input here, man. I really like what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. You'd love to talk to William over here for sure. There's a good one right there. The Kandahar giants.
I was going to mention
That was killed and
Kandahar has
transported
a
out
lot
by
of stuff going
by
on.
the military, killed several troops. There are eyewitness accounts, apparently.
Yeah.
Incom 100. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, anybody that served in Afghanistan will tell you, the Kandahar Valley
I hear that
is
a lot.
Yeah.
is a weird place, and a lot of strange stuff has gone, and what's so weird about the Middle East, they do have cryptids, because when we got to Kuwait, before we went to Iraq, we went into Kuwait City to go get our equipment, off of the transports, and there's a lake or sea monster that is around the port there in Kuwait City that everybody knew about, and they're feeding this thing. And a couple of soldiers actually got a chance to see it. By the time we got over there, it was already gone. But there is cryptids in the Middle East.
Well, I mean, you look at where was the Sumerian civilization? It was Iraq. It was Babylon. It was
that green.
Whole region.
Yeah, it was green.
I mean, this area, if some of the theories about it are correct, has got to be full of artifacts and documents. I mean, the cuneiform tablets. There's millions and millions of those that exist into the modern day, and most of them have not been translated. I mean, who knows why exactly some of the most powerful governments of the world felt the need to go into this region in the last couple decades, but yeah, there's all sorts of speculation about.
Well, I can tell you why American troops were protecting the Department of Oil in Iraq. They were plunging the museums, and that's where U.S. troops should have been protecting, was the museums and not the Ministry of Oil, building, which was crap.
Mr. Duffy makes a good point. I find that some are almost ghostly. Some people shoot them and nothing happens, or they get very close to people but don't touch them. The other encounters being more physical in nature. So it does kind of, some of the encounters, I mean, they go, no, what I saw was flesh and blood. It left tracks. I could smell it. I could hear it.
Or people see it eating something, or even the cases where they shoot it and they can see damage on it, maybe muscle hanging open or something.
And here's something, if it's supernatural, why is it eating something flesh and blood? Is it doing?
Well, it's the same thing with demons. They feed off, your energy. I think it would be the same thing.
Well, that's one of the areas I find most interesting is this, it seems like they want to cause fear, and then they sit there and savor it and absorb it, as though it's not just something they do for perverse fun. It's almost like it's something they need, and I mean, that gets into woo-woo land real easy, but it's a common theme.
But we're getting a lot of reports now that it's like these things are feeding off people's fear. And that's how it's able to somehow feed off the fear.
And they seem to target, not always, but it definitely seems like a lot of the people who have experiences with them were in a less than ideal emotional state. They were in a weakened emotional state. Bad things going on in their life, and then they attract this thing.
Okay. Arcane Life just dropped something here. He said recent activity on a farm near Bray Road had canine tracks near a guy who came up, a guy who set up cameras with a dead deer. All he got on camera was mist.
Linda Godfrey got the same thing out there also. I remember talking to Linda Godfrey about this, where she had cameras that were set up, and apparently they had bait set up, and something came and took the bait, but it was like a mist that showed up. And I think that's what Small Town Monsters, when they did their Bray Road Beast DVD that's out, focuses on the supernatural and possibly the occult part of this particular entity.
Well, and that could easily tie into the illusion, the hologram. I mean, it's possible that it was there physically, but that it was putting off some sort of a signal, an image it wanted to be perceived as, this mist, cloaking, whatever you want to call it.
What about speech? Has anybody ever heard anything about communications between these things or communications with someone? I think that's interesting.
Rather than just growling,
Growling, some type of vocalization.
something less primitive, more
Yeah.
intelligent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was that, old story from Wisconsin, I think it was 19th century, where the guy saw the dogman digging in the cemetery and claims that it said something to the effect of Gadara.
Which was Native American.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was digging in the Indian mound.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, the Indian mound.
Arcane life.
Yeah.
Well, the devil is said to be an illusionist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like typically it's a growl or howl or a snarl. And with like Bigfoot, at least, I've heard communication.
Well,
where they're grunting and they try to form words.
What's that like a bluff call that wolves do?
Yeah.
A hoof?
Chuff.
Chuff.
A chuff.
It's chuff.
Yeah, a chuff.
Yeah, so they do chuff.
Yeah. Which
Or
is
you got to wonder if they know wolves are, if you're going back to supernatural, if it knows the wolf's a predator and it tries to mimic a wolf, even though it's not. It's more of an entity.
Well, Cryptid 559 says doesn't mimic owls.
Oh.
And
well, we know squatches do.
We knew Bigfoot mimics other animals.
Poorly
though, but that makes sense. Could this thing mimic a coyote? I mean, look at the amount of reports that we get where this thing is either sighted prior or after coyote sighting,
or even sighted together with them.
Yeah, or with them.
A few of those.
Do they do coyote calls to draw the coyotes in? Because do they feed off the coyotes? Are they able to control the coyotes, to be scouts, to watch the area for them? Anything. I mean, but there again, that will fall into the supernatural, part there. Mind control, I guess, if you want to say.
Coyote connection.
Yeah, the coyote connection there. And, what is it like with Bigfoot? What's the connection there with them? Are Bigfoot afraid of them? Are Bigfoot, out to try to kill these things? I give Bigfoot strength, but you're looking at a predator that has weapons, his mouth, his claws, his intelligence. I mean, I think Bigfoot is
probably tries to avoid them.
Yeah, I think he tries to avoid them, but I think Bigfoot has more common sense than he does intelligence. This thing has both.
Yeah.
Both common sense and intelligence. So
when you say problem solving,
this is definitely a problem solving animal.
That should really make the hair stand on your arm. Like when they see people in cars, do they actually see the people in the cars, or are they just looking at the car? They're probably figuring out. Well, and there were cases where they figured out how to open the doors of cars as well.
No, I've heard eyewitness accounts where the eyewitness was in a car and definitely felt as though the dogman was looking at them and not at the car.
Well, it's like the one case there in Ohio where we had the tracks next to the tire tracks. Okay, where the lady said that she was in her car. It was pouring down rain. She was sitting off the side of the road, and all of a sudden she looks up, and there's this thing bending down, looking at her. Yeah. Okay, so the tracks were there the following day, when she went back. I mean, could it have been a coyote that stood on its hind legs and was trying to look into the car? Could have been a domestic dog. Maybe. I mean, anything's possible.
Max Axe. I heard people that had an encounter and called out the name Jesus Christ, the dog man ran away. That sounds like a demon, is what he's saying. So another spiritual one. But I guys heard of that as well?
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I've heard
that.
They
start praying and start praying aloud, and it seems like those intercessory prayers are working.
I've even heard that with Bigfoot on Bigfoot reports.
Which would tie into the Nephilim,
Yeah.
disembodied spirit meat suit theory,
Right.
And another thing too, majority of a lot of these sightings have always been one dogman. We've had, a few of them where they were two, and very, very, very few close to one where they were actually in a whole complete pack.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's another good thing. I mean, do we think that these things run in packs?
Nana Ann and Della Cartet were just discussing that they saw the paranormal video. Remember the paranormal witness? The pack?
The pack. That particular case.
And that was up in
that particular case, and a case in Akron,
Maine?
Ohio.
Yeah, I think that was Maine, yeah.
Yep.
Those are the only two cases I've ever heard where there was packs. Just those two cases there. Yeah, I'm hoping we can get more, because I'd love to know if there's more out there.
Yeah, there's another one for the government engineered the dogman to curb the Bigfoot population. Well, I haven't heard of that.
Well, I mean, it's something.
The human population.
Do dogmen make structures? That's from Cryptid 55.9. And that goes back to the question I asked.
I don't think so.
I don't think they make structures. I really don't think they're. I think they're going to live in a cave, or they're going to make a den and live in a den. I just can't see this particular animal taking the time to make a structure. I mean, I think Bigfoot makes structures, but Bigfoot, I believe, moves around, and his structures that he makes, are going to be something that's going to be, very temporary, not that massive. I mean, I've actually seen members of the DNR make structures to throw researchers off. I physically seen them do that. So that's the other part, which I don't know even if Bigfoot makes it, because I've seen, people from the DNR do it. And even like structures where they call like territorial structures.
Right.
And
Like
or
the X's.
And this is where I have a problem is that, when you in an area and you find a bunch of different structures, they're all different. If it was one particular creature making these structures, they would all coincide with one another. They would all be the same. And that's the problem that we have. They're not all the same. They're all different. So you can't have 5, 6 different Bigfoot in a smaller area marking off small parts of the ground. So like I said, I think most of that stuff's man-made. And believe it or not, nature makes some funny structures. Because I'm telling you, my wife's grandmother's property, when we got hit with a big windstorm and we went up there to clean it up, there were structures that were made by the wind that physically looks like somebody made them, and it wasn't. It was made by Mother Nature.
Yeah, I would find the Bigfoot connection to structures, far more credible. I mean, if you look at Bigfoot as being closely related to us, possibly, we make structures.
Right.
If you look at Dogman being more related to our known canines, they don't make structures, but they do dig dens.
Dig dens
So
and caves, and that makes sense when it comes to that. What else we got?
People commenting on the different. What's this one? Just asking about locations of where there might be sightings and stuff.
Here's a question. Do you guys think that the government has like a facility, kind of like remember the movie Iceman Cometh, where they found the frozen caveman and they put him in this enclosure, and he didn't even know where he was because they put animals in there for him to hunt, but they watched and observed him, And do you think the government has something like that? A facility where they have dogmen, where they're in a wooded environment, and they send prey in, for them to hunt, kind of like the raptors, like a raptor's den or something like that.
I believe that if they exist, and I do believe they exist, and if the government knows they exist, and I think that's extremely likely, that then the government would absolutely try and have living samples and try and make it as realistic a situation for them as possible. When we look at like great white sharks that are taken into captivity, they die within a very short amount of time. They just don't do well in captivity. So you would figure an intelligent species like a Sasquatch or a Dogman, would easily become depressed and just have failure to thrive in, say some sort of a, sanitized concrete cell like we put prisoners in.
Right. So they would have to be a
in a
facility.
habitat.
Yeah, it'd have to be a habitat type, climate controlled environment.
Right.
So where the seasons changed, where they make it night to make it look like stars, would make it look like day with the sun, something like a hologram type on the ceiling type thing, where climate control, where it rains. So where these animals can't determine where they are.
And then Hector Larios says, if the government keeps aliens, why not Dogman?
There you go.
Yeah,
Maybe there's a bunch in Dulce, New Mexico.
Yeah.
I saw a baby also in the green belt in Colorado, right next to a teepee structure. I saw a baby.
A baby Dogman?
This might be a conversation. Some folks are having talking about sightings and stuff.
Okay, let's see.
So if we kind of tally things up of what we heard out there and what we've been talking about, yeah, I'm kind of shocked that supernatural would be.
That's interesting. That was always the area I leaned a little furthest from.
So did I. I mean, I figured it would be more natural or extraterrestrial. I figured, my opinion, I really thought extraterrestrial was gonna beat out everything. I was surprised.
So and this is because since the dawn of these things, we started researching and since the beginning
I accept the role it's whistleblowers in government with the Dogman and provide pictures, video evidence. I've had the audio of fights between Bigfoot and Dogman. And
Nana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them from Australia. We're talking about New Zealand and the sightings there. We do have investigators in New Zealand, believe it or not.
Yeah, in Australia, we have them in a couple countries in Europe and Canada. I mean, we're growing. I mean, we are growing, and I'm gonna tell you guys something. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here that you guys are gonna love here soon.
Dean Cooling. The reason it seems like there's a steady rise in encounters, but I think the reason is because of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I'd agree with that.
Awareness, and when we've got people out in these rural towns that start talking about, they may be having a conversation at mom's joint, and all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hey, I think I saw one of those." It may not be crazy after all.
Dogman's the new cryptid, and now we're finding out that law enforcement across the country, they have code words now for like Bigfoot, which is black cow. We found out, and this is just not local. This is all over the country, and black dog for Dogman sightings.
I was on a law enforcement, firearms related forum a while ago, and I asked him. I started a topic about that. I said, "Hey, any LEOs out there? Is this true?" And the responses I got, I got shut down pretty quick. They did not want to talk about it at all. They were very surprised that anyone had brought up
anybody knew those code words. Yeah. Glenn Atkins, a very good friend of mine, his wife wrote a really good book called Black Cow, and it's about all this law enforcement cover up on Bigfoot sightings, with this code word and all these police officers that actually did come forward that she interviewed and talked about the particular cases where these were called in. And that's when I wrote the one book where I talked about, the black dog being a law enforcement code word.
Mitch is in the house.
Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
What's your hair, brother?
He's 2-9er savvy.
2-9er Savoy.
Savoy?
Where's it at?
Oh, that's not how you spell savvy. It is
Savoy.
Savoy.
Savoy. That's from John Wayne and the Green Berets.
It would.
2-Niners a boy. This is Mad Dog.
That figures. It'd be nice to have him here with us, man. We'd
Yeah.
have a really good time. People would enjoy him for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's our security guy. He's the one that covers everybody's six when we're out in the field.
Yeah, he's
He's a former lieutenant colonel, United States Special Forces. This guy is high speed. You know,
you got it.
He's the guy you want covering your butt out in the field.
I learned a term from him the past several weeks. It's called fieldcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Really makes sense when he starts talking about fieldcraft. Yep. Some training coming up, folks.
Led Zeppelin.
We'll be talking about it.
Knew about the black dog. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Love
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
To make that time.
Yeah. Like I said, Dogman, he's the new cryptid. You're going to start, trust me, by this time next year, you're going to see commercials about werewolves and Dogman.
Yeah.
It does seem to
like-
be creeping into the consciousness.
Like you see the
With Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
I think it's gonna kind of do that Smokey the Bear thing.
Yeah.
Smokey the Bear. Yeah, you're not gonna be afraid of
Yeah.
bears or
Yeah.
if they do the same thing. Well,
And-
now they got a movie coming out called Littlefoot. Is that it?
Yeah. Littlefoot.
Littlefoot.
Yeah.
So that kind of softens the blow. With the
Yeah. So you're going to, like I said, by this time next year, you're going to see a lot more werewolf and Dogman stuff that's going to be coming out to the public.
Movies, series on Netflix. They're gonna start kind of. It's gonna start seeping in.
Oh yeah, and the bad thing about it, they're going to make Dogman out to be a murderer, well, which he is, but it's going to make him how Bigfoot is. He's out, killing everybody, and Bigfoot, that's not how Bigfoot is.
Didn't we watch? Jen R says wouldn't be surprised if LBL Story comes out in theaters.
There's actually a movie out now called
That
the
horrible
LBL.
one?
Yeah,
Is it the horrible one we saw?
it's called the LBL Beast. It's a B movie.
It's
um,
no, I think it's a D movie. it's bad.
And yeah, I saw it. I saw some of it, and they could have done better. They could have done better.
We need
Come to
better-
us if you're going to do a movie.
We need better Dogman /
Yeah.
werewolf movies.
Yeah,
And-
there's not that much. I think I got about every single one that's out there. Dogman or werewolf movie there is. Bond Hill. What?
No, go ahead. It's Mitch. He's plugging the
Skill Set Magazine.
article. That
Yeah.
yeah. Pick up Skill Set Magazine.
It's got
Barnes and
really,
Noble's folks.
it's got a really good article about Dogman in there.
He's our director of operations.
But I think it's called Bond Hill.
Bond Kill.
No, Bond Hill is the name of the new. There's a Dogman movie out, a werewolf movie out now.
Bone Hill.
Bone Hill.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Bone Hill,
That's
which is, I mean that's a pretty good. I've seen that one, and you actually I saw parts of it. Actually, you can get it at Walmart. It came out on the 10th. Walmart, Amazon, and FYI, I think has it. Pretty good movie. It's a blood and guts gore movie, but it's pretty decent. The werewolves in there are really neat looking. Blood Moon was that? I think it was a Blood Moon. Was like the best looking werewolf I've ever seen.
I love the Dog Soldiers ones. I think
Yeah,
those are pretty cool.
dog soldiers look too much human in the body. Never Cry Werewolf. That was a real good one too. That werewolf was really good. And even the TV show from the 80s, Werewolf, that werewolf costume was awesome.
From which one?
The TV series from the 80s called Werewolf. It was
Oh,
on
yeah.
for 3 seasons,
Yeah. That's
and
right.
it was really good. I've got the whole thing, and you can find it. I think on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, has it.
They're remaking American Werewolf.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, Jim Baker's supposed to be part of that.
And tell them about the story with the movie Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet. Oh, this is interesting. I wrote Stephen King, and I was asking him about how he came up with the story Silver Bullet, which was The Curse of the Werewolf, I believe was the original name of it.
Right,
And in the beginning of that movie, there's a guy that's killed on the railroad tracks there. And he basically got that story off the Defiance, Ohio case of 1972, where this creature attacked 3 railroad workers, almost killed them. And this werewolf harassed this town for almost a week, maybe a week and a half, made international news. If you look on our website under documents, we have all the newspaper articles about the Defiance, Ohio, and it's really interesting. But that's where Stephen King got his story from, which I think was really, really cool.
Yeah.
All righty. So where are we at, you guys? What do you think? I know we haven't jotted down a whole lot. Everybody's got a lot of, but it seems like the majority of the folks out here are leaning towards the supernatural.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really do think the lines can blur. I mean, I think
Oh,
there can be a
right,
lot
yeah.
of overlap in between
Yep,
really all
like
of them.
some of the folks even
Yeah.
said that as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it can definitely overlap on that. But I mean, it's interesting, and I'd like to do a follow up, follow up show.
Yeah, we should.
I mean,
especially,
because to talk about that, a different subject. So why don't you do this? Go on the North American Dogman Facebook page and leave a comment.
Cycle of the Werewolf. Sorry.
Yeah, Cycle of the Werewolf.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jeff.
And let us know what type of topics you think we should be doing like this. And we're actually going to try next time we do this to actually have a call-in number, so you can call in and actually talk live on here, and we can hear it other than the message board here. So we definitely want to do that. So yeah, definitely let us know. Let us know for sure if you want to continue this subject here, and continue on with it, or come up with a whole different outlook. Let us know.
Also, for those of you that are members of the NADP, now's the time that the sightings start to kick up from now through early spring. So yeah, so now that we kind of whiteboarded a little bit of discussion here to try to determine what we're dealing with, it's very difficult. I mean, if you think if we knew for sure it was 100% flesh and blood, then it's for us to be out in the field trying to capture evidence for this. It's pretty straightforward. We pretty much have an idea of what to do. But being that it's possible supernatural, makes it very difficult. And I know 2 of us had an encounter in Germantown with something, and it kind of, every time I think about the supernatural, I'm thinking, well, maybe this was something. But we were down in the gorge, and we were using a FLIR Scout, and the gentleman that used it is on our team. He's logged over 1,000 miles hiking last year. He used a FLIR Scout to save his life when he's out, because he goes by himself when he's hiking through the Sierra Nevadas, and he's all over. But we actually, he had seen something on his FLIR Scout, but it didn't have a heat signature. It wasn't obvious, but he saw something moving. It was a giant shadow. He saw it standing next to a tree in an area where there was very tall grass and some small trees. And he stopped, and he was asking about it, and he was looking. He said, there's something 10 feet in front of me that's black. It's huge. I see it moving. And as he's telling me that, and mind you, we don't have any lights on or anything. We're just using our own human night vision. And after he told me that, the little bush and the you know, the grass and the trees, they're all shook all at once. So I flipped on about 7,000 lumens with my camera, and I got to see everything shake. But as we stood there waiting to hear the footprint or the footsteps or a growl or something, we heard nothing. You know, so we backed up out of there very cautiously, and as we were backing up, we did hear a scream further off, maybe about 50 yards in that direction, and we know it wasn't a barred owl. There was nothing really down there. No, I mean, we didn't see anything with the FLIR Scout, so we started to think that maybe that was, you know, something paranormal.
I'm glad all these people are having conversations with each other. I mean, I think that's cool. I mean, you know, they're asking questions.
Yeah,
You know,
there's a
to us,
lot.
they're asking questions to each
Creates a
other.
community, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I want to thank each and every one of you. The response of people that's on here is just so overwhelming. I did not expect this much people, and I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the support you guys have with the NADP, and I'm telling you, there's good things happening here in the future with the NADP. You guys are going to love it. I can't get, we can't get into a whole lot, but when it comes about, we're going to need your help, on this too. So trust me, we are doing this for you. We're not doing it for us. We're doing it for you. I just can't express, any more, the thanks, because if it wasn't for you guys, our organization could not have grown as large as it has. And let me tell you too, the fact that we have grown so much, we're getting looked at by a lot of, I call worried agencies, honestly.
Yeah.
The Department of, Agriculture, the U.S. Forestry Service, they're monitoring us. Different DNRs are monitoring us. And one good thing about our site, we can tell who's been on our site. I'm not talking about, Johnny in his basement, we're getting his IP address. No, we're talking about like large companies, government agencies.
Langley, Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Certain locations, we know who's on our site. And like I said, that's why we know, .gov, our government sites. And when they're on your site, a lot, they're either you got some people who are really interested in the subject and they like seeing what's on there, or they're particularly watching us for one particular reason. And if when you got a large amount of people from Washington D.C. watching you, you have to, and you have to wonder who they are. From District of Columbia and that particular area. Why are they watching us? Why are they constantly on our site? For what reason? Out of a little bitty area like District of Columbia is much larger than, Houston, Texas, or Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, it boggles your mind on why they're watching you.
Yep.
So maybe there's a big interest there. Maybe they're following us to see how well we do, what information we come up with.
Right.
Just like what they're doing with MUFON. And maybe we have, moles in our organization doing the same thing. They're feeding us information, and we're checking it out, and they're seeing how well we're doing, how capable we're doing. And I can honestly say there's been some strange things that has happened. Would you say,
Yeah.
to us
Yeah.
personally? that kind of makes you wonder, what's going on, and we'll get into that some other time,
Thank you, Nana Ann.
yes, thank you. So, but
good stuff.
thank you.
See, it kind of sucks that, it kind of sucks that they just don't come to us and say, hey, we know what you guys are doing. Pretty cool. We're on to this. Let's work together on this a little bit. We want to do, just to resolve the issue of what we're dealing with here would be fine. I mean, that would be great.
Buckeye Nation.
Because we've got so many people out there in rural communities that are absolutely terrified, have nobody to turn to at all. I mean, we hear about this all the time. So that's why we have state reps and regional directors, and we have researchers and investigators in the field, on the ground, asking questions, trying to help people. We're all a bunch of counselors here, man, because when you talk to an eyewitness and they're crying on your shoulder, I mean, you've got to do something. And I know I've seen some comments out there that said eyewitness testimony is merely anecdotal and whatever, and it doesn't count for anything. But it's all we got.
Data point.
It's all we got.
And
Yeah.
it's one data point is one data point, but when you get 1,000 points of data,
Sure.
you can start to build something with that.
Yeah.
Bingo. And that's what we're trying to do.
And that's what we're trying to do, with this. And, we can't do it on our own. That's why we asked you to help us with this. Because we're all in the learning. There's no experts in this field. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 31 years, and I am still learning every single day about the stuff that's going on in this field. And we have to work together. We have to stop the pettiness, the fighting, the trolls, because we're not going to get anything unless we work together, on this and share the information, So we'll get things going. We'll definitely get things going here. All right.
Sorry, no, Deb was saying that it's eyewitness testimony is what MUFON has too.
Sure.
Well,
it's even tougher to try to prove.
Well, the thing about here's the thing with eyewitness testimony.
Oh.
Okay, in the field of ufology, cryptozoology, and the paranormal, human testimony doesn't mean shit. Okay, I'm sorry, it doesn't. Human testimony only means anything in the real world. It could put somebody in jail. It could put somebody on the death penalty. You have to understand there's more people sitting in prison right now that's on death row because of circumstantial evidence instead of physical evidence. And most of that circumstantial evidence is somebody's word of mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. We can say, yeah, I saw Bigfoot. I saw a UFO. I saw a dogman. We're going to get laughed at. But if I say I saw Johnny D walk out of the convenience store that just got robbed, even though he didn't do it, that's enough to put him in prison. Okay. So we have to make this field to the point where you're going to have no choice, but you're going to have to listen to us. I don't care if you believe us or not, but you have to listen to us and take into consideration that anything in this world is possible. I mean, it's like this, and I always bring this up. If the world took a survey, okay, what do you believe is real? UFOs, Bigfoot, lake monsters, werewolves, whatever. I guarantee you the top number one answer is going to be UFOs and then ghosts.
Yep.
Okay. And then Bigfoot and stuff's going to follow below that, way below that. Okay. So if, the government ideal is that, we can't handle this stuff. Yes, we can, because Donald Trump could go on TV tonight and say, yes, extraterrestrials exist. We know they exist. We have bodies. We have a craft. They've been monitoring us. So far, they haven't done anything to show that they're hostile to us. But if they do, we'll do what's necessary to protect the human species. Well, that's cool. you're going to go to bed, you're going to think about it, you're going to fall asleep, you're going to get up in the morning, you're going to have breakfast with your kids, you're going to get them on the bus, you're going to take them to school, you're going to go to work, you got something to talk about, you're still going to go to soccer practice with your kids, you're still going to go out to dinner, you're still going to go to your little meetings, whatever. Life's not going to change for you because deep down inside, aliens exist, ghosts exist, cryptids exist. So you're not going to run out into the street carrying signs, this is the world's going to end, and you're not going to take your family down in the basement and put a bullet in everybody's head. Okay, that's only in movies. Okay, reality knows we're not going, we can handle this. We're not going to go batshit crazy like the government thinks we are.
Right.
It's not going to happen. We can handle this because deep down inside, we know this stuff exists. So, but we have to be taken serious. That's the thing. We have to be taken serious. I'm telling you, I give it 10 years and you're going to have Bigfootology, cryptozoology, ufology being taught in universities. Not liberal universities, but regular universities. Okay, you're going to have that stuff taught. I guarantee it, and I give it 10 years. Because the government they can't hide this stuff for very long. We're not stupid. We're capable of taking care of ourselves. We're capable of thinking for ourselves, and so that's what I'm saying. Sooner or later, and I look for Donald Trump to be the president to do the stuff on extraterrestrials, getting that out there. And I think once that's out there, I think it's going to open up the doors for the cryptids and even possibly the paranormal. And you're going to find out that somehow, some way, the government was involved in every single one of these as far as studies, putting money out to these projects. I mean, look at the Exorcist case, okay?
Right.
That bed, that the original bed that the movie Exorcist is based on is sitting at Andrews Air Force Base. Why would Andrews Air Force Base have the bed from The Exorcist, the original bed, other than trying to weaponize it? Okay, so you're going to find out that all of these different fields, the government is putting money into them, either to weaponize it or use it to their advantage.
What was that movie? Man Who Stared at Goats?
Yeah, Man Who Stared at Goats, same thing.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, and another really good movie to look at, seriously. One, it's called Official Denial. It came out in the 90s. And I can't think of the guy's name. He was one of the Hardy Boys that was in it. And Dirk Benedict is in it also from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And it's based on alien abduction. And it made sense because how it turned out, the aliens are us. It's us from the future where our species is dying. And they're time traveling back, abducting humans to save the species. Which made sense, and the government knew this. So, that's what I'm saying. You're going to find out the government's involved in all this stuff one way or another, so, but, if there's any more questions, bring them on. If not, we can go. Let's see, what time is it? It's 9:08.
2 hours in. And everybody stayed long and strong out here.
Yeah.
It's been a good discussion.
12 monkeys. There we go.
It's been really good.
Yeah.
12 monkeys. Yeah. So I think we're
Gonna have to look at the supernatural aspect a little closer, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because another thing to add in your toolbox, I mean, if you're thinking of supernatural, to try some of those things, but I'm always, we're always, those of us that have not had an encounter, who would like to have an encounter, but some sort of intelligent communication type encounter. I mean, that's kind of hard to predict that would happen, you know, because it would be interesting to be able to try to communicate or, you know, to say some words or have an object or something just to see how this thing reacts to it. But
there was one. Have any of us seen a clearer picture of Dogman on a cam? The best Dogman picture that we have is one from the Redwood Forest, Shenandoah.
The Jeremiah Smith, Jeremiah Smith Redwood Forest.
Yeah, Redwood Forest. So that's on our on our front page of our website. That's
due a couple miles east of Crescent City.
Yeah,
way in Northern California.
That's the best picture that we have.
Our California state rep actually did photo forensics on it and said that the object in the picture is actually in the picture. It's not Photoshop.
Yeah. So it was, what was there was there. That's the best one we've got. You know,
which another thing adds to probably the supernatural is as you can see in the photo, it's black. It's jet black. And he made a comment that black hair or fur does not reflect. It's just like it's I don't know. They say is it buffalo fur that does that as well?
Yeah.
But also said that was like a light absorbing. That there's no reflectivity off it.
Which was interesting, and you'll see it in the photo. And what's so interesting about the photo, you'll see the massive chest where it goes down to a very thin waist. Very interesting picture.
Kind of a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Fits a lot of the descriptions.
I mean, when I first saw it, you know what it reminded me of was Anubis. That was the first thing that came to mind when I saw this was Anubis, was how the body shape was.
Well, after talking to him and then him showing me the picture, I was like, shit. I was like, oh shit, bro, I think you got one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, we have trail cams we set up when we go out and things, and we haven't caught anything. And it's one of these things that I truly believe it's going to be an accident, you know, that when you're going to get something, it's like the Jedediah Force. That guy was a Star Trek enthusiast that went out to the area where a Star Trek episode was shot. And that's where he ran into this thing. And it was just by chance. And I think that's how it's going to be, you know, and you're still, regardless, I don't care what type of camera you have, everybody has a cell phone. And depending on what type of cell phone you got, it doesn't make a difference. You're not going to get a very good picture. And you're always going to get the blur picture because of the pixels. So, you know, it's a blood squatch, you know, that we get.
So that's why we formed this group and are organizing the way we are, because if we do get a call and someone says, there's one of these MFs in my backyard right now, that we can get somebody on the phone and get them on the ground like immediately. That way, you know, someone may be able to capture something if we can get a response quick enough to get to one. I mean, those are better odds than just running out into the forest somewhere and waiting. So that's why we exist.
I just got a text from for a California rep talking about a sighting out there that someone had, or he needs us to call him.
And this happens all the time.
Yeah.
We get these daily. So
my wife's about ready to kill me with my phone going off in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
With reports.
All right. So I guess we're good. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to it? I know we've just been yakking here, but hopefully this is arcane life. What are your plans if you run into one, fellas?
I'm going to be the first person killed by one. I promise you that, because I'm going to go full force at it. I'm going to get up there. I'm going to let it see me. I'm going to get a picture of it. You know, if these guys get it on video, you know, I'm sorry. You know,
it's going on lively.
It's going on live. Yeah.
If he punches it in the face, it's going to World Star.
Yeah. No, my thing is, you know, I'm not going to make any aggressive move towards it. I mean, I'm going to let it observe me. I'm going to observe it. And I'm telling you, if it gets hostile, I'm telling you, it's going to get a couple good hits in before it eats me. And, if you guys get it on video, post it,
And that's kind of, that's something that we've had to come to the realization of by being a member and being an active investigator in the woods, is that if you do come into contact with one, the possibilities of a grave outcome are very real.
It's
Very
in the
likely.
dogman's hands, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally up to him.
Yep.
And again, we're going by eyewitnesses, but we understand that if we're in the field and we do run into one of these, that is a possibility.
we don't carry guns.
We accept it.
We're non-kill. I mean, we carry knives, and that's strictly for our protection. But, I just, I had my fill of guns in Iraq. So it's just, I don't carry one.
What we do carry is deterrence.
Yeah.
Like I have a hyper whistle that when I blow it, it's like 150 decibels. We also have bear spray.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're out at night, make sure you have some light cannons. Make sure you have light cannons. I found some 6,000 to 7,000 lumen light cannons, and I've strapped them on a helmet. So if I see one, like Arcane was saying, I would probably not want to antagonize it. I would try communication first, kind of get its general intention. See, it just depends. If we bump into each other and we're, I don't know, 40, 50 feet away from each other, just to stay still and watch and kind of get the intention. And if it just seems aggressive, throw the lights on, blow the whistle, spray, anything to get it out of the area, or to get it to not want to attack me, for sure. So we just want to, deter the situation. And the other plus of that is I'm wearing cameras. So all this would be on film. So my job is done at that point. As long as I live through it, I'm good.
When you have an animal that sees at night very well, the light distorts his view. And I mean, you look at deers, it basically frees them. It seems like, because they'll sit right there in the
Right.
In the middle of the road, and let you hit them. So maybe I think that's a good deterrent. To blind it, to get out of the area, quick.
Thank you, Vicus Galati. Is it Vicus? Vicus Galati said, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for such an amazing show today. You all been able to convey exactitudes and specificities sequestered with crackling personalities. Well said, sir, but not by me.
We are educated, okay.
My brain, I got it up here. I just trying to get it out. Need a good dog man to slap me in the back, right? So I think with all that being said, man, it looks like we got a really good response, and we'll do this again. That'd be great. Thanks, William, for allowing us to use your office. We're here in Westchester, Ohio.
We'll leave it at that.
It's next to the Goodwill store.
Yeah. All right, you guys. You guys have any finishing final words for these folks out here?
No, I
stuff,
deeply
man.
appreciate everyone for being here. I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of people that showed up and the questions. And like I said, let us know on our Facebook page, or Dave's Facebook page, my Facebook page, William's Facebook page. Let us know if you want to do this again. If you want to continue this particular conversation, if you want to come up with a whole new subject. We love doing this live stuff. We've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and now, obviously it works and we can do it. And let's have fun. Let us know what it is that you want to talk about.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. We're going to get you down here too for one of these. All right. Are we good to go?
I think
We're good to
okay,
go.
guys?
This has been
Yeah,
great.
it's,
Cheers.
Thanks.
all right, you guys have a good one.
Have a good
Thanks.
night.
We're awesome.
We'll see
Have a
you.
good one. Night.